I will repeat that for us in Quebec, there's no question about negotiating the supply management for dairy and other products. Also, it's important to protect our cultural exemption, like French on tags and everything. I think also it's important, and I want to talk to Mr. Carney tomorrow about it, to have a duration if we have an agreement on August 1st. Because right now, our economy in all Canada suffers because of the uncertainty. We don't have investment from companies, so we need to have, if there's an agreement on August 1st, duration. Would it be for 3 years, for 5 years?
Uncertainty always bad for business. Kind of seems to me like that's part of the point when it comes to how the U.S. and Donald Trump likes to negotiate on these matters. That voice you heard there, of course, the Premier of Quebec, François Legault, was head of the Council of Federation meeting that was held in Muskoka between the Prime Minister and the Premiers. And of course, they talked trade and this impending August 1st deadline for a trade deal with the U.S. Victor Henriquez joins us now. He's a public affairs and crisis management specialist over at Public Strategy and Conseil. Victor, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Elias. Good morning.
And, there's news out in the last 24 hours. The U.S. has a trade deal with Japan. Seems to be significant. And I guess the pressure is building here. And you're also trying to keep as many people as possible happy, including Quebec. And they've got special things they want to take care of, like culture and language and supply management. It seems like a mess.
Yeah. It's really difficult, Elias, because as you said, you need to maintain everyone happy. And when we look at the deal with Japan, what's important to see that it includes a 15% tariff on all goods, which means that what Mark Carney was saying last week was the reality is that Donald Trump is signing deals with the people who are ready to pay tariffs. And that's a reality that we need to be prepared for. And that's what I heard about yesterday, that premiers are saying a lot about what they don't want to have in this deal. But the mystery is the same for all of us. We don't know what's going to be in the deal. And that's what is preoccupying the economic people, is that with this uncertainty, we cannot have investments right now, so it needs to be fixed quick.
You think about is this all about negotiation and who has, the more negotiating strength here? And I wonder if it also works internally within Canada between the provinces. Who has more negotiating strength to make sure Mark Carney keeps their wishes in mind when he negotiates a deal? I want your take on how powerful do you think Quebec is to make sure their wishes are respected at the end of the day?
The big power Quebec has is the fact that if we want to make a pipeline east-west, we need to pass through Quebec. So that's why Mr. Legault is saying that he's open to the pipeline. Of course, he wants to have, he wants to make sure that they are real effects for Quebec. But at the same time, he knows that the pipeline is probably his main point of negotiation. That's where he can get some wins, because if he allows the pipeline to go through our territory, he's going to make sure that the federal has to invest, for example, in the line between Churchill Falls and the rest of Quebec. So that's the power he has. Of course, we know that there's a big power in hydro energy too, because electricity is needed by Americans. So it's an interesting power too. And in terms of mineral, Quebec is pretty rich. So he has a few ways to get a good voice there and to get good results. But at the same time, he's not the most powerful. Probably the most powerful in this case is Alberta and Ontario. And as we saw yesterday, there was an agreement between Saskatchewan, Ontario, and Alberta for a pipeline. So at the same time, this thing of the pipeline is becoming more and more of a reality, and Quebec is going to have to position themselves pretty quick too.
And certainly the pressure is there. Let's talk about supply management. It seems to be like the no-go zone. Don't go there. Don't try and change it. But when you listen to Donald Trump and his advisors, it certainly seems like they take aim at supply management and they want major changes there. How do you think this plays out?
And that's the reason why I think that it's not even sure that we're going to have an agreement on August 1st. Because for Canada, it's impossible at this point. For the Prime Minister of Canada to let it go on supply management, it's not possible. Maybe he's going to be able to do a few openings, but he knows that his political career is on the line. Because he made a huge promise to the provinces. He made promises during the election. He was not going to touch it. If he does, is basically to say that he lost this negotiation. So that's going to be a point where there's not going to be much room, much space for discussion. But the question is now, where are we going to open new discussions? Where are we going to be open to something new to make sure that Mr. Trump and his team forget about supply management in dairy? So I don't know what's going to happen with that, but I know that for the government, actually, it's non-negotiable.
When Mark Carney got elected and he met with the premiers for the first time, boy, it certainly seemed like everyone was getting along. Certainly seems like there's always a honeymoon period when a prime minister comes in with the premiers. Are we still in that honeymoon phase? We are, right? And you think there's a will here by everyone to get along and fight for Team Canada?
There's a real will, and I was listening to Doug Ford yesterday, and he seems to be a very good friend of Mark Carney. Sincerely, if I was a Conservative at the federal level, I would not be too happy, because yesterday he was really very positive about the relation he has with Mark Carney. The honeymoon continues, and I think it's because they're having transparent discussions. Mr. Carney is recognized to be an effective man, and right now it's working. So the results are not there yet, but the relationship is still very good.
Well, yeah, with Ford and Carney, it's like it is a honeymoon. It's a literal honeymoon. They're going to the chalet together. They're spending all night next to each other in front of the fire. It seemed like they were up all night the way it was told by Doug Ford. Best bros. Okay,
Best bros.
Victor, listen, I got to leave it there. Thanks for your thoughts, and we'll talk again real soon.
We have the chance, I'm pretty sure. Thank you very much for that.
There's Victor Henriquez, Public Affairs Crisis Management Specialist over at Public Strategy and Conseil.